Every one of us have things we are comfortable with, and there are things we are not comfortable with. If there are things you are comfortable with, that means they align with your purpose, your personality, and what you stand for. But if something you are not comfortable with comes your way, it means it doesn't align with any of your goals, purpose, or your personality. Boundaries help us to make informed decision about what we want. Now, when we talk about boundaries, boundaries are invisible lines we set to protect our bodies, our time, our space, our emotions, okay, um, our speech, in order for us to do things that align with our purpose, that align with our personality. Today we want to look at boundary setting in sex education. There are different types of boundary setting. I've told you about boundaries. So let me talk about the different types of boundary setting. Then, in subsequent edition, we will talk about why do we set boundaries, or scenarios we can set different kind of boundaries. We have boundaries on physical boundaries. We have time boundaries. We have emotional boundaries. We have verbal boundaries. We have digital boundaries. All of these boundaries are to help us in our day-to-day life. Now let's take the very first one, physical boundaries. When we talk about physical boundaries, they are things that has to do with our body. They are things that has to do with our personal space, and there are things that has to do with our personality. Now, physical boundaries help us to set boundaries about our body. When we have to say no to a touch, when we have to say no to a hug, when we have to say no to somebody interfering with our space, when we have to say no to things that does not align with our personal life. So, when something does not align with what you want to stand for, it is not a crime for you to say no. So when it comes to personal boundaries, know when to say no and don't feel guilty about saying no. Somebody wants to touch you in an improper way and you say no, stand by it. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel that this person is far older than me, so should I just succumb? No, you don't just say yes to things because you want to please the other person. You say yes to things that align with your personality and stand for who you want to become. And you say no to things that doesn't fit into your personal space. So don't feel guilty because you say no. Try as much as possible to set boundaries physically that protect your body, that protect different kind of touch you're comfortable and uncomfortable with, and set boundaries on things that you're comfortable with. That's for physical boundaries. We'll have another one, emotional boundaries. It has to do with protecting your feelings from manipulation. Some of us have allowed ourselves to be manipulated. Our feelings have been manipulated. You allow people to manipulate how you feel. You allow people to manipulate how they want to treat you. So, emotional boundaries has to do with protecting your feelings from manipulation and helping yourself to remain mentally stable so that nobody messes up with your emotional well-being. That's emotional boundaries. So don't allow people dictate your feelings. Don't allow people manipulate your feelings. We are talking about different type of boundaries. We've talked about what boundary is, and now we are mentioning the different type of boundaries. I've talked about personal boundary, that's physical boundaries. Now we're talking about emotional boundaries. The next one I want to talk about is digital boundaries. Digital boundaries has to do with what you want to share out there. So when you have boundaries on, these are the kind of content I want to put out there, nobody will push you into sending message, pictures, videos of yourself that is improper. So you know what is proper to you and what is improper. So no matter what an individual says, send me your picture, send me a part of your body, send me this or send me that. You will be able to stand by your ground or stand or hold your ground and say, no, that's not part of my boundaries. You are overstepping. And so I say no to this. Learn to say no confidently and stand by your no. That's for digital boundaries. And another thing is you want to be careful who you communicate with. This goes to our preteen and our teenagers. Set boundaries digitally on who you want to communicate with. There are a lot of predators out there. So you can set boundaries and say, people I want to chat with are people within my circle, people I have come to trust. You know, there are people online that you will come to trust, but be careful. Do your own research. Go through their profile. See who their friends is. See who they chat with. Can you tell the personality of this person? Is he a wolf on a sheep covering? So that's why you need to be careful those who you communicate with online so that you don't communicate with people who will be predictors or who are predators looking for young individuals to manipulate and blackmail, and young individuals who they want to sap out information from. So have digital boundaries, who to communicate with, information you want to share, and what you want to say out there. The next one is verbal boundaries. Verbal boundaries means that this is what you want to say and what you want to stand by. Speaking up is not a crime. Because many young persons are afraid to speak up, or because they have been silent, or because somebody said if you speak up, something is going to happen to you, they have been silent, they have been quiet, even when they are manipulated, even when they are being hurt. So, verbal boundaries are important. Tell yourself when something that does not align with my personality happen, I'm going to talk. I'm going to speak out. I'm going to let a well-meaning adult know, my guardian know, my parents know, my teachers know, my counselors know. Okay? Try as much as possible to make this out. Speak out. Speak up. It's very important. Now, feeling uncomfortable. When somebody says something that makes you feel uncomfortable, be ready to tell them, I'm not comfortable with what you just said. That builds confidence. So we want our teenagers to build confidence in how they speak. And then lastly, time boundaries. Time boundaries. Not feeling rushed into relationship and not feeling rushed into intimacy. Time boundary is very important for teenagers, most especially, so that your peers, even some of our caregivers, do not rush you into relationship, into intimacy, because it's not in your timeline. Every one of us have our own timeline, and we want to set boundaries on what our timeline is. You don't allow people to rush you into doing things you are not comfortable with. So we have different kind of boundaries: physical, emotional, digital, time boundaries, and then verbal boundaries. Make sure you listen to these boundaries, and next time or subsequent edition, I'll give you samples of how you can set boundaries around this area. If you want materials on setting boundaries, we'll have materials that can help you set boundaries in different areas of your life. And we'll have scenarios played out that can help you. So you can slide into my DM and let me hand over that handbook that will help you to set comfortable boundaries that surround all these areas of your life that I've mentioned.